All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming for your first orientation for Dublin, Ireland for the fall semester. My name is Joy Rice. I serve as your virtual mentor for this program. And so today we're going to go over a little bit about me, a little introduction about me, a little bit about general expectations. Then we'll move over to life in Dublin with our study abroad returnees. We'll have a chance for Q&A. And at that point is when we'll stop the recording, and then we'll finally move on for everyone to get a chance to know each other with some introductions and kind of next steps of what the next orientations look like for you all. So a little bit about me. My name is Joy Rice. I have been with the College of St. Benedict St. John's University since 2008. I have always managed some sort of Ireland program. Our office has managed a variety of programs in Ireland. We historically used to have a Galway program that I managed. At some point, I also managed our Cork program. This is a newer program, the Dublin program, and so I managed and developed this program when it started in spring 2018 to today. So during my undergraduate, I spent a semester abroad in Edinburgh, Scotland, and that is really what started my journey to lead me here and what really leading your guys' transformation for study abroad as well. I did the count last week, and I have been to Ireland 6 times. And so in a variety of roles, I have done mostly for professional now, but there has been one of my side passions is golf. So that is a golfing trip in Ireland right there. When I'm not working, I'm also spending time with those littles over there. I have 2 children named Oliver and Olivia, who now are in 5th grade and 2nd grade. And so this picture is my last time in Ireland was March 2022, and I actually got to spend some time with the students in Ireland on the Dublin program, and I did the Kaze Farm excursion with them and got to make some soda bread. So that's kind of me a little bit in a nutshell. And so I wanted just to talk a little bit about some of the materials I have already sent. So one of those pieces was an acceptance packet that included dates of your program. So these are set, which means you already can go ahead and book airfare based on those dates. And so the date of arrival is a great one. It's my birthday, September 13th. And so that is when you all are set to arrive. And just a reminder, that is the first day program housing is available. If you do arrive by the time I said in that acceptance email, there will be group transfers that from the airport to ultimately your housing, which is really nice for the first time you're in Ireland, that you don't have to worry about finding a bus, figuring out a taxi to your housing. If you are planning to pre-travel or things like that, do know, again, you can't arrive at your housing early. So the first day the housing is available, it's going to be September 13th. And so if you are pre-traveling or post-traveling, just knowing the dates of when housing is available would be September 13th to December 16th. And again, if you're outside of that window for arrival, then it would be the expectation that you would get to your housing location on your own. You do go through some orientation for the rest of the week, and then classes and internships start really quickly that next week there. What is to be determined is you have 2 overnight excursions built into the program that is a part of Irish life and culture. Those go to Northern Ireland and the west of Ireland. The ambassadors will talk more about what those look like. So those are not set yet. Typically those dates are set in mid-August, just so you're aware for kind of planning in those pieces. And there is a midterm break. These are great times for parents to come visit. Other times parents can come visit as well, but just note that for any time that you are in class or you have an excursions, that would be seen as an unexcused absence if you were not able to be a part of the program activities. And so after your midterm break, you do continue on with your classes and internships. There is finals week, and then you have your return flight. It will go by in a flash, like the ambassadors say. And I'm excited for you to be on this journey. So a little bit more about flights. So do try, if you want to be a part of the group transfer, get there before 10 a.m. So as long as your plane lands right around 10 a.m. or earlier, you are able to get that group transfer. And so there will be people in the airport that were they holding up FIE signs, or were they just kind of pretty visible that they're FIE? Kind of. So you just search them out, but they are there in the airport. And for you to then get over for group transfers and things like that. So be mindful to keep, you can either do 2 one-ways or a round trip, but you do need to purchase your round trip before you arrive. Because you don't have much to do for your visa process before you go. But when you arrive on site, there is a chance that the people, whoa, we haven't moved enough. The people that are checking your passports and things will look at to make sure that you are not only arriving in Ireland, but then you're going to have a plan to leave as well. So the other thing we do continue to recommend is research change and cancellation policies. And when you're thinking you're ready to book, we do say to book directly with an airline versus trying to do like a Student Universe or an Expedia. Because once you go through a third party, if something were to happen, that is when they'll say, oh, it's Expedia's fault. And Delta will then say, you have to work with Expedia. Expedia said you'll have to work with Delta. When you have to be on hold because of a delay or something like that, there's nothing worse to working with multiple people in that. Along with air travel, for the dates of the program, we do provide additional international and accident and sickness insurance, but do know that this is for the dates of the program only. So if you are thinking of pre or post traveling, do look into maybe additional insurance options for that time. So just keep that in mind for any pre or post travel. Also included in that acceptance packet were the costs of the program. So on your bill in July for fall semester, you will get the tuition cost that you would normally pay at St. Ben and St. John. That doesn't differ. But what goes away is your room and board cost that would normally happen on the bill. And in its place is the program fee listed here for Dublin. And then any aid that you normally have, scholarships, financial aid, federal aid, state aid, all that it gets applied, and that is what you would pay St. Ben, St. John's. If you're normally on a payment plan or however you normally work with student accounts, that can normally continue to work in this case as well. And then the other pieces to be mindful of and plan for is the required out-of-pocket expenses. So one would be that airfare. So that's kind of that pre-departure cost. And these are variable. Obviously, you could get a great deal on your Dublin airfare, or this is kind of average, what I was looking at right now. Same with food, depending on if you all apartments have a kitchen. So if you make most of your meals inside, that will keep down on there. And then the third one is kind of just personal and phone. They will maybe share some of what they cost for like independent travel and those kind of things. The other thing that's an on-site cost is your visa process is 100% doing it on site, and there's a visa appointment, and we'll talk more about what that looks like, but that would be another out-of-pocket cost to account for as you're planning for your summer employment and those kind of things. So I wanted just to share that obviously this is a program that does not have a faculty director that participates in the program with you, that you take a class. I serve as the virtual mentor for this program, meaning that I will work with you for your pre-departure orientations, and then I will serve as an instructor for 1 credit online course during your semester. So I am one level of support, but not your only level of support. And so I really, for any of our study abroad experiences, we're excited for you to kind of continue to gain that independence. But for this program, I'm a level of support but our partner at FIE will also provide great support. But that is where it will be you being your own advocate. They are there to help. I am here to help. But it is your job to reach out with questions, reach out with maybe concerns you have. And then all of us can rally around to provide you the best support that we can at that point in time. So that is really the biggest thing that I want to share in regards to those general expectations. I'm excited for you guys to build that community, for you guys to have whatever experience you're looking for in Ireland. I think that's the great thing of this program, is that it can be really yours, whatever that looks like. And so I hopefully can guide a little bit for you guys to get to know each other, get to know Ireland a little bit more, but it really is an experience of your own. So those are kind of a little bit about expectations and things like that. I'll share a little bit more towards the end, but I just kind of wanted to set that tone. But speaking of support, this is the FIE staff. So by no means are you left there high and dry. So this is our partner that we utilize in Dublin. And so here are 5 different staff that you could go to at different points, depending on maybe if it is more of an internship question, it might be connecting with Claire. We have 2 people that actually do live in your residence that kind of act as res life supervisors. I would say that it feels different than what maybe a typical RA looks like here. Again, they're there to help and support you if you do have questions, but by no means will they check in often with you. It will be up to you to be like, hey, I have a question. I don't know how my oven works, or things like that. Or I have an emergency and I need to connect with them. There's always someone on call. They will give you your 24-hour lines, and so but they are definitely your 24-hour support. Anything to add on FIE staff?
If you ask them questions, they'll help. They don't really like come to assist you. They do check in the apartments every once in a while to make sure you're throwing your trash out. They just help themselves in if you don't answer. And they just like check that you're not growing mold or like bugs in the kitchen area.
It's probably like once a month they come in.
Yeah. All right, well, perfect. So that's the last part I want to share for a bit. I'm excited to introduce. We have 2 returnees who were on the last fall program, and I'll let them introduce themselves with their name and their major, and maybe what they miss most about Ireland right now. And with that, they can take over the show here for a while. I can be your Anna White or you can.
Okay, my name is Molly. I'm currently a junior. I'm an exercise and health science major, and I probably miss most about Ireland is like the pubs and the food.
Right, I'm Claire Johnson. I'm a senior global business major, accounting minor, and what I miss most, probably just walking around and doing things and having a big city where you can do things and just walk around and explore.
Oh, do you have anything to say about this?
Group pickup. I arrived at 5:30 a.m. and they were there to pick me up, so they're really helpful, and they described in an email where to pick them up. There's a weird sculpture that they usually stand by, so they described that.
Yeah, and again, the orientation is 3 to 5 days, but like it doesn't take your full like 3 to 5 days, so there's like a lot of time to like go explore the city and stuff, just to get like a feel of it beforehand. For transportation, if you have an internship that is more than a 10-minute walk, you get a bus card. It's called a leap card. Or sometimes Claire, I think, had her own, but again, they'll put money on it, so you don't have to pay for transportation. Typically it's only supposed to be used for your internship, but I used it a little bit for other things, so.
You can get the student leap card too, which is half off of all fares for 90 minutes, so you can tap on and tap off, and as long as it's in 90 minutes, I think it's €1 instead of 2 for the student card. So you'll do that. You could do that once you're there. You have to submit a picture and they mail it to you, so then they'll mail it to your binary hub address.
This is the school. It's like a 20 to 25 minute walk, so it's not too bad. Like you could take the bus, but I would just recommend like walking everywhere, because again, it's just such a walkable city, and you really don't have that here. Like, especially if you live in like the Twin Cities or anywhere in Minnesota. So
Sometimes the buses aren't as reliable as like the apps say. And then this is just one, there's 2 buildings for DBS. This is Castle House, so you could see Dublin Castle from it. Then if you keep walking down the road, they'll hit their Angel Street building too, so I have classes in there as well.
And again, they'll show you how to get there too, so. So here's what the classes look like. The picture on the right was during the World Cup, and actually on the left, standing up there is Donal. He'll be your Irish life and culture teacher for Wednesday nights. That's like the 3-hour class or whatever.
They give you food,
Yeah.
which is a sandwich.
Okay, sometimes the services are bad, but like you can go easily get food from like a 5-minute walk away.
Let's see, I took for academics, so I didn't have the theology class that you all have. So I took international marketing and strategic marketing. And the international marketing, I don't know if it'll work with the registrar now, but it transferred for my marketing credit for GBUS. So that was nice. And I had classmates from a lot of European countries, not a lot of Irish students. It was a lot of European students from Spain, Germany, France, Belgium, all different places. But it was cool to have an international experience.
Yeah, and I mostly took art classes, so I took a theater class and then a modern literature one. They were both very kind of like freshman level classes for college. I'll say this, like the classes are kind of easy. So like there's not a lot of work with them. There's probably like 4 to 5 big assignments, and then that's kind of it for like homework and stuff. So it's pretty easy.
And it's a lecture too. I don't know if yours was different, but ours is a lot of lecture. So one of them actually was a big class in a big auditorium. And so I'm not really used to that here, so that was different. And most of the assignments are just due at the end of the semester. It's not like daily homework assignments or something like that, but it could depend on the type of classes you take.
So yeah, the internship. So I'm exercise and sports science. So I did one for the Irish Wheelchair Association for their sports section. So basically I worked in their gym and I kind of monitored the gym, and then I occasionally like helped out at big sporting events. So I helped out at like a Paralympic powerlifting event, which was kind of cool because you had Irish teams there, you had an Italian team there, and I think you had a German team there, which was pretty cool. And then again, I made friends with some of the interns there. So like I still keep in contact with this one German intern that I worked with. So it was really fun actually.
Yeah, so I interned at a registered Irish charity, so kind of like a nonprofit, and it was called Solace Project. It was a after-school program for at-risk kids in the Liberties neighborhood. So where we kind of live, but they live more near the hospital, so kind of not very far from us. So I was able to tutor the kids. We made food for them and then planned activities and different types of lessons for the kids. And so, yeah, I think that might be the next one, right? Okay.
Yeah, if you feel ready, go for it.
Yeah, so I sent in my resume, but you change it a little bit. So it's called a CV, or I think it's curriculum vitae. And so it's a little different than a resume. And then kind of like a personal statement, is kind of like a cover letter type thing. And then you pick 3. So I think I did charity and nonprofit, human resources, and management.
Yeah, I think I did sports.
Yeah, so here are the different placement areas, and you do have to pick 3 different ones, but you can see how they can kind of work together, right? So you could say business administration, business and econ, and accounting and finance, or advertising and PR, and those all would be, but you can't just say accounting and finance 3 times is really what it boils down to. Go ahead.
Oh, and mine was 2 days a week, full days.
I think mine were 3 days, but again, they were like half days. And then I was also gonna say, this is where I got my bus card from here, so it was probably like a 40-minute commute. I know it kind of ranges from like 20 minutes to an hour. So, but again, it's not that much of a time commitment, I would say.
And I'll stop 1 second here. So, to you are ready, we'll be starting your process for internship selection now. So tomorrow or Monday, I will send you some more, it's called Ireland Dublin program instructions. So you're already accepted into our program, but now we need to get you into the FIE system. And so we're going to start their online application. A lot of their online application is simple demographic aspect, meaning like your date of birth, like checking that, you know, you will agree to dignity and fairness. There's emergency contacts for them. They have their own health and well-being information that is helpful information so that they can be a support to you there. But the big thing that is going to be a part of this online application is completing this My Internship information. And so as a part of that, that is where you're going to select the 3 different internship areas. And that is where you're going to adjust your resume in order to be a CV and then write that personal statement. And so, unlike getting an internship here, this is your process for placement. And then ultimately what happens is this is going to go to the FIE coordinator, and then they will look at that information. You answer a few questions as well about what kind of goals that you have in regards to this internship, what skills you bring, and don't be hesitant to do some of your like side passions that you want to maybe investigate more. If you're a part of a club here and you do photography and you would like to continue that art there as well. It doesn't always have to be connected to your major. It can be kind of connected to other kind of maybe academic or professional goals that you have. So completing these 2 pieces, ultimately, this is what goes to Ireland companies. And so you will get an interview, but that happens in like mid-August with your FIE staff member. You don't get an interview with the people on site until you actually have the placement. And so, and that interview truly is like, you're hired, and this is kind of what the internship looks like. And so I can't stress enough that your internship placement process really is all about completing, making sure your resume is accurate as possible and changing it to the format that there is samples. There's lots of links that I'll send in the instructions, and it goes like step by step with a couple samples of a CV and a couple samples of personal statements. Those are great information to see. And in the industry areas, it really kind of shares a little bit about what the industry looks like in Dublin. And the only other tip, let's see if I can actually, go. Let's see. I will later show you and go to the actual website. And so on FIE, while you are not looking at the London West internship websites, I actually think some of the verbiage they use on that website can just help you start brainstorming of like, oh yeah, I do have those skills, or like, or oh yeah, I do want to think about these things for my internship. So anyway, this is truly what gets you the internship, and so spending time on that now is crucial. So moving on to where you guys are living.
Yeah, so these are the apartments you are living in. Me and Claire lived on the apartment on the right, so they have like not changed, like that's exactly what they'll look like. Mailing is pretty easy. I mean, I wouldn't do it often, but like you can do international mailing and people can obviously send stuff to you. They will give you your address when you're there, so like you won't get it in advance, which might kind of be whatever, so you'll have to talk to family and friends when you're there.
Yes, when you're mailing from Ireland, you can't use American stamps, you have to use Irish stamps. But there's post offices nearby, and ask the FIU people about it. I think it's 2.2 euros, so like €2.20 for a stamp, an international stamp. And then it's 1 mailbox per apartment. And I did get, you can order on like UK Amazon. And so I did get 1 or 2 packages for things I couldn't find at the stores, and that you pick up at a desk, kind of like at Mary Commons or here. And so yeah, it's 1 mailbox per apartment.
They do have a fitness center. It is kind of small, like the top left picture, that's kind of the extent of it. So you can go exercise, but sometimes people like do go buy memberships at actual gyms, which might be nicer. If you're really looking into exercise, you can go do that. But yeah,
You'll do a lot of walking too.
yeah, you'll do a lot of walking, so it's like you could go, but. So these are what the apartments look like.
And then the other thing, if you are a runner, Like Phoenix Park is about 20 minutes to Phoenix Park, and then there's lots of paths there. I do know like in previous semesters, students have done that as well, to keep fit.
So yeah, everyone, you do get all your own room, your own bedroom with your own bathroom, which is really nice. It's a lot nicer than a lot of other programs, so like take advantage of it. The shared living space is like okay. A lot the girls in our trip, we got to room together. A lot of the time, what I think what happens for you guys is that you'll room with some probably other international students, which might be good or bad, it depends. But again, just be prepared for that, I would say.
Yeah, you'll be maybe other FIU students from
Yeah.
like Baylor, Elon, or other US colleges.
Yeah, so it would be other FIE students but you would for sure be with your other CSB. There'd be a CSB flat, and then there would be a SJU flat. But then just depending on numbers in that flat, maybe a few extra FIE students, or it could just be you all. It really does vary by semester what that looks like.
There were 4 Bennies and 4 Johnnies. So the Bennies were in a 4-person apartment altogether, and then the Johnnies, there were 4 Johnnies in a 6-person apartment with 2 students from Elon.
This is more of what the housing looks like. On the upper left there was our view out of the window, which is really nice. Some apartments, they had like a view of like a brick wall. So like, again, it's kind of iffy as to what you get. And again, so we had like a Thanksgiving kind of thing in the bottom left, which is kind of what we did. And again, that's more kind of open space, and then
It's basically the whole living space,
yes.
but we were in a 4-person, so the 6th one is bigger.
Right, so for a 4-person, you'll get basically an oven and a fridge, but if you're with at least 6 people, you get 2 ovens and then 2 fridges, all that stuff.
There's an app for laundry. It's hard to find, so you kind of have to find a time, because the Aparto has like 12 washers or something,
Yeah.
but they're always being used. So early in the morning or super late at night sometimes.
Well, because there's a block, so it's 4 apartment buildings, we only stayed in 1. And so everyone does their laundry there, and so again, that's like a couple hundred people trying to do their laundry. And again, you do have to have money for it, which kind of sucks, but like. I don't think any of us really use the study space, but again, it's there, it's right outside the laundry room, if you're ever motivated.
I would sit there while I'm waiting to like snatch a washer, so that was the only time, but they have like books and puzzles and games, but.
Yeah. I saw other people use it a lot, so.
This is the FIE office. It's the first floor in one of the flat blocks. So that's where the staff is. They have a really nice area. You can always pop in. You can see here, I don't know, next to the couch, they have a bunch of brochures for like things to do, places. Some of those have coupon codes. So you can always look for those.
And so then you have your excursions, which Joy kind of already talked about already. Again, I think these are required. And again, I wouldn't really try to miss out on them. Like I wouldn't try to schedule other things because they are really fun and it is a good way to explore Ireland, especially.
Yeah, they're included in the cost too, so it's
Right.
like a free vacation.
Right.
Yes.
So here's the Northern Ireland one, at least. Oh, and a couple of Galway.
Mhm.
So the upper right is at the
Giants Expressway.
Yep. And so basically you'll get an Irish tour guide for that, and he'll tell you the whole story of that, really fun. You'll also on your Northern Ireland tour, you'll go to Derry. And the Northern Ireland tour is it talks more about the history and political sides between Ireland and the UK, which is kind of fun if you're more interested in that. So that's why it's called You're Now Entering Free Derry. You'll learn the history of all of that, which is kind of cool. And then the bottom 2 pictures on the left and the right are in Galway. So on the right, you have the Galway Cathedral, and the left is just off the coastline because Galway is on the west of Ireland, which again, really fun.
Yes, the Northern Ireland one takes pounds, but if you use a credit card, it'll automatically transfer, things like that. So just to keep that in mind too, it's kind of, this might be a political comment, but technically it is a separate country. So based on your viewpoint, some people don't think it is, but Northern Ireland is part of the UK. They use pounds, things like that, so.
You won't probably use a lot of cash. I probably pulled out like 300 euro at the beginning and then I barely used all of it. Like everywhere will take card. So you can probably just tap it and use your card for a lot of things. Yeah. Here are all the DBS events, which DBS is different from FIE. So DBS, I was a part of the volleyball club on the upper left, which was really fun. Again, I still keep in contact with some of those people. Glasnevin is like an afternoon trip, so you'll do like a couple hours, and they'll kind of tell stories of some famous Irish people who are actually buried there. And then the bottom row is all of Causey Farm. So at Causey Farm, which is kind of a big trip and again really fun, you'll make soda bread like how you saw for Joy. You'll be able to jump into a bog, which me and my friend Olivia did. Highly recommend. It looks scary and kind of gross, but like it's really fun.
It was really fun. Yeah, I also jumped in it. I didn't want to. But it was really fun, and it's actually because of the chemical makeup of a bog. It's very exfoliating. It's kind of weird to think about, but yeah.
But again, you won't find them like in other places, like they're mainly in Ireland. So like you might as well take the chance.
When I first jumped in, you kind of sink and I thought I was stuck. But you figure it out, they help you how to do it. I guess it's super fun. That you also do a little Irish dancing there, and we had tea.
Do you guys drum at all?
No, we didn't do the drumming.
But
Oh, we did boats. We had these swan boats.
Quirky things.
Yeah, so they have this little lake, probably like the size of Lake Sarah, maybe even smaller. You know where that is? And we had these swan boats.
Yeah, like paddle boats.
They were paddle boats of swans.
Yeah.
so yeah, we did that for like an hour. That was interesting.
Yeah, and someone brought a hurley, which is for hurling, and they try to use it as an oar. It's a fun time.
And so here are the other programs that DBS will offer, which is the college again.
These are somewhere. Brook Park was through DBS, but then I think the other ones are.
Oh, you're right. So again, you will have to pay to go to Bray, or in other cases it's been Health, different cities, and Glendalough. So they'll have like a list of opportunities when you first get there for orientation. Which again, I would take like the opportunity to do all of them, because they're really fun. It's an easy way to explore Ireland, because although Ireland kind of has like a rail system, it's easier to get to some places like on buses, and if they take care of everything. And again, you get to connect with more of the group. So for instance, in Bray, that's our whole orientation group, because we decided to go, which again,
Yeah, I think Bray was included in the fee, and then we paid for the Wicklow trip, which is that top right in the middle one, Molly. Yeah, and they're subsidized too, so it's actually cheaper than if you just wanted to do it by yourself too.
Because didn't you say it was like 50 euros for like all 5 or something?
Yes.
yeah. So it's kind of nice.
Let's see, so.
Is this one else?
Mhm.
Okay.
Connecting with people at home. So my plan, I have AT&T, and I did an international plan on my AT&T phone. So it was $10 a day, but after 10 days, you get the whole month. So it was $100 a month. And that's just what we thought was best than figuring out an Irish phone number, but did you do one?
No, so I also had an international phone plan, but again, my friend Olivia got an Irish SIM card, which you can get in Ireland. I don't know, some things change with like the algorithm. So like, for instance, she noticed like on TikTok, like everything changed to Irish TikTok, which she kind of hated because apparently it was terrible. But that's besides the point. And if you travel to somewhere else, she needed to relog into her SIM card. If she went to we went to Italy together. And so when we first arrived there, her Irish SIM card didn't work because it's mostly made for in Ireland. And she would have had to re-enter the number that was on the card. And so we actually had Claire like text me what her code was, and so that we could put it in. So just be note of that. You could still do it. It's just a little bit more of a
Because I
hassle.
think it should work anywhere in the EU if you have an EU SIM card.
Right. You just have to put that number back in. So there's a card that they'll give you.
And it depends on the company as well of what that looks like. It's a mixed review. I would say there are some groups that they would swear by getting an Irish SIM card. 'Cause for cost wise, typically it is sometimes a little bit cheaper. But the other thing to note with getting a new SIM card is that you do need to make sure your phone is unlocked before you go. Meaning that you're able to take out your SIM card and put in a different SIM card. The other thing that's a newer thing that my coworker did when we were in Italy is there's things called an eSIM now. And so that way for the whole month, she could, for 15 euros, she had lots more data and things like that, but she kept her US phone, and so she could toggle back and forth as needed. And so she really enjoyed that, and I know that's available in Ireland and lots of parts in Europe. And then really honestly, because she did 2 locations, and as soon as she changed locations, it just would say, welcome to Austria now, and that kind of thing. So just things to think about and what maybe works best for you and your phone plan. I do know if you have like T-Mobile, you do have free data abroad, but I would say it's slower. So if you are like dependent on it, upgrading to, they have a premium package is worth it. But it is up to you to figure out what phone works for you, but you do need something that you're able to work off of data. Dan.
My mom goes abroad a lot and she's found that Verizon has really good international data plans. So if anyone has Verizon, probably.
Yeah, you use data a lot, like I use the maps all the time, or the apps for the buses and stuff, so. Even if you think you're not gonna need data, you do all the time, and then WhatsApp is also good. But if you're gonna call or use the video chat, the other person also has to have WhatsApp. So it's not like you can just rely on that to be your phone.
But also I would download.
Oh, for sure,
WhatsApp.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Just because again, that's a lot easier to communicate with people who are not from the US. Like that's their main app of communication.
Yeah, like my group chat for one of my group projects for one of my classes, we talked through WhatsApp. Let's see. For budgeting, I would say look into whatever card you're gonna use and see if it has fees. If it does, I recommend looking into a new card. We had someone with the international fees on every transaction, and it adds up quickly, so.
So this would be debit card, but then typically 0% transaction fees. The other thing is if you don't have a credit card, now would be the time to look for a credit card. But also if you are looking for a new card, do look for Visa or MasterCard. American Express or Discover are not widely used in Europe. And so again, if you're searching for a new card, look for 0% foreign transaction fees, and then also look for a Visa or MasterCard. So those would be, and then tell your bank that you're going to be abroad for those times, because otherwise it's great, but they may shut off your card when you want to use it.
And then we kind of talked about cell phone already a little bit. You just need to have one. It's communication.
What other apps did you guys
So TFI, Travel for Ireland, those are a lot of. But so they have a few apps, so they have like a train app, a bus stop app, like the bus. Different kinds. Another thing would be Google Maps. If you use Apple Maps a lot, sometimes Google Maps is better too.
I think I only used Google Maps. I mean, you'll need an app for your laundry.
Yes, that's Circuit. I also downloaded Revolut, which is kind of like Venmo. You don't need to do that. I just was the one like for like if people were gonna Venmo me, but they were like non-Americans. I used that. What else?
I think that's all I got.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I'm sure you all have Venmo, but if you don't, make sure you do download that here in the US, because downloading that in Ireland has caused folks in the past, they do
And that's what we would do a lot is one person would pay and then we would just Venmo each other. 'Cause they don't really do split bills at restaurants and things, so.
Yeah, I guess for,
Oh, the Leap card has an app too, so you could track how much you have on your Leap card, sorry.
no, that's not, you're good. I was just gonna move on to safety tips. Dublin is relatively safe. You won't really have to worry too much. Just don't be stupid with like drinking and whatever, just make sure you're with people. Again, they'll kind of talk about like your neighborhood and the area that you kind of live in Dublin isn't like the most secure. Like there are some kids who are like rambunctious, but again, you just gotta be careful. You're just be smart, you'll be fine.
Yes, and you'll know what areas are better than others. Once you go more towards the city center, so more towards DBS. It gets less residential and less like random kids trying to shoot off fireworks. I would say mostly the area that I wouldn't recommend would be if you head towards the Guinness factory, like storehouse, and then towards the hospital. That's kind of where the kids I worked at the after school program live. And it's, I wouldn't go there at night. I mean, go visit the Guinness storehouse if you want, but just don't go there at night, I would say, like that area. Also, if you feel more comfortable with a buddy during the evening, I recommend that. It does get dark earlier because it's farther north. And then they also have daylight savings. So towards December, I think it got dark around 4:15. But during the day, yeah, walk around at night or walk around by yourself, that's totally fine, I would say. As long as you know where you don't act like stare at your phone the whole time, kind of just general big city things. And just so you do know, there will be people asking for money, you just keep walking.
There'll be probably a lot of homeless people in your area.
Yes.
So. But yeah, here are the outlets. You'll need a adapter. Yeah.
It's the same as the UK ones. It's different from mainland Europe. So if you are trying to, or planning on going for your fall break to Europe, Europe uses the ones that are on the bottom right, where it's just like those two straight sticks.
So this is like an example of like an all-in-one, or you can get like a couple, so you could get one that is just UK, Ireland. And then this is one where you change some things and it can make it work. So,
And again, I think if you're traveling to other countries, I would just get the multi-purpose. It just makes it easier.
yeah. And all that, and this would be like fix that. That's the question. Any questions?
How much did it cost for you to go to Italy? From Ireland?
Well, okay, we planned it within like the first week or two that was there, so like definitely planning in advance. There's a airline all throughout Europe called Ryanair that will have the cheapest flights for you. It'll be the most inexpensive. So I think we spent probably like 500 to go there. So it's not too bad, but again, it's still kind of expensive. So yeah, again, work a lot during the summer, I would recommend, just to build up that money in case you do want to travel a little bit.
Yeah, I, for my fall break, I had people visit, so I stayed in Ireland. And I still probably spent even more, well, per person was probably about like $700 traveling all around Ireland with like overnight accommodations, but you can make it cheaper if you don't stay in bed and breakfast, but you stay in hostels instead, or things like that. You can make sure, and then with transportation within Ireland, there's always student train pass or tickets. So it's cheaper than the regular pass, but you might need to show your student card or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of student discounts, take advantage of all of them, because again, they make things a lot more cheaper, and there's really nothing like that here, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask too.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'll be surprised if just any place start flashing it over there.
Like Boojum, it's like Irish Chipotle, they give you, I think it might be a free drink or something. I don't remember.
oh, I got a free burrito.
Oh, okay, free. It's free something when you show your card, so just feel free to just ask.
You'll get an ID card for your college. They'll take a picture of you and print you one.
I think you can send it in too, and then they'll have it on your orientation, or you can go and physically take the picture and it might take an hour.
Any other questions?
With that, do you think the 1,200 is accurate or should you have more?
So the 1,200, I would say is probably doesn't include too much independent travel. The 1,200 is kind of some travel in and around Dublin and those kind of things. But if you are doing like travel during fall break or other weekends, I would say you would have to budget for a bit more than that.
Maybe around 2,000, a little bit is more what you're aiming for.
And like we took field trips to, like to Kilkenny, so it's probably like an hour train ride from Dublin. And so probably that whole day might have been like 75 or less, depending on like how expensive your food was, the train ticket, if you're gonna buy anything. So you can do little day weekend things that aren't very expensive. And it also just depends, like you could pack your own lunch, I guess, but like we just went out for brunch. So we did pay for a meal, which might be like 15 to 20 euros per person. So it also just depends on how frugal you want to be and if you're gonna buy a lot of souvenirs, things like that. But with souvenirs, if you spend over 75 euros at one particular store on one purchase, so a lot of times it could be at the Irish gift place, what was that called? Carol's Irish Gifts, or like the Aaron Sweater store, or like the Guinness Storehouse gift shop. You spend over 75, you can get a special receipt. You have to ask for it. And if you take the stuff home to America, you can get part of the VAT, which is the value added tax, back. So I just got it. It takes a few months to process. So in February, I got 2 refunds on my credit card statement for some of that tax back. So I think it ended up being about $40 back that I got on things like sweaters and like those knit sweaters that are expensive. So you have to spend over 75 to get the special receipt, and then you submit it at the airport.
You mentioned assignments for some classes being due at the end of the semester. How did you handle that?
Again, so the last kind of couple weeks that you're in Ireland, don't really do like any far away travels. Like I wouldn't travel to different countries during then. I would do more exploration of Ireland, just because again, you do need to focus a little bit to get those assignments done. And a lot of the time, again, those classes are probably like an hour long. So that means you maybe have 1 class a day or 2 classes per day, and they're like 2 hours. So you have the whole rest of the day. So a lot of the time I would end up going to like a cafe, or I'd go out. I would even end up at like Starbucks for like a little bit and just do some homework there.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of consistent assignments. I think you had a lot of reading with literature.
Yeah.
But mine for the marketing classes is kind of just a big project at the end. And so I had some international students and I had a Benny in my group for one of them. And so we did meet and talk. And so I think it just depends on how early you want to start your project. I wouldn't like wait till December, but meeting with your group, if it is a group project, and you could meet at the library at DBS, especially if there are students from not other like non-FIE places. They live probably all around Dublin, so it's easier to meet just at DBS before or after class. So I think one of them was a video presentation. So instead of presenting live, we recorded it over Zoom. So that we met and did that. And then there was a paper that we all just did our own sections and stuff. So there's some things, it just depends on your lecturer. They call them lecturers, not professors. And yeah, I think it just depends, but you just have to balance it, kind of like here too, but not really a lot of tests.
I only had essays. I don't think anybody really had a test. So
What's DBS?
Dublin Business School. Sorry, that's the college if we say DBS.
Yeah.
And then FIE is the,
Foundation for International Education,
which is the program that helps you with your internship and a couple of the trips and
housing.
housing. So there's a lot of different groups and
Lots of acronyms too.
yeah.
So you have like 2 groups really helping you complete this experience. And so kind of FIE is that overarching. So that's kind of who you're going to get a lot of your pre-departure or all your pre-departure information. And then once you transition to on-site, because DBS is where you will have all of your classes will be at DBS. And then, where you're really going to intersect with DBS as well is so those Irish life and cultures is only for FIE students, but Islam in the West, and then your other class, it will be with other DBS students. And then internship course will be with other FIE students again. And then there is, so if you do want to do student experiences or clubs and societies, that would be connecting more with DBS. And they also have some extracurricular activities. They kind of had a like outdoor U like here. They have some like, you know, student activities, types, events, those kind of things. So you will, unfortunately, you will get another email. You'll get your DBS email. And so that's another place for you to check out those pieces, but they'll send you important details that way as well. So it is kind of managing between the two. It seems like a lot right now, but you kind of get into the mode when you're there, would you agree?
Yeah, and again with DBS, they'll all send you emails, and there's a couple trips that they sponsor as well. So like there was one to like Portugal where they basically taught you how to surf there for like a week. That is over your fall break though, so like if you want to go somewhere else, you could do both.
I know some FIE American students went on that and they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Last spring, so this program used to be a spring program. Last spring, we had one student who did that program, and but it's making choices, you know, like anything. And so, and last spring I had some students, they did a surfing trip in Donegal area, with DBS, like their outdoor U area. And so, you know, there is some great choices you can choose for there.
And again, I did the volleyball club, so again, that's like a club fair that they'll do at the school as well. So they have a bunch of different ones.
Yeah, I went to their festival culture type thing. They had snacks, like people from different countries, since it is a big international school, had tables with snacks from their particular culture. So I walked around and saw like what they had, but some of the activities I wanted to go to, it just didn't work out with classes and things, but.
How was like the cost of food for eating out versus shopping for your own food?
Shopping,
Shopping's
Like,
shopping's obviously it's way cheaper. But again, the going out and eating, like that's pretty cheap too, like compared to especially eating here. Like, and again, the euro and dollar transfer for us was the euro was,
at one point, the dollar was worth more,
yeah,
but
Now it's $1 like stuff.
okay, so it fluctuates too.
yeah. But I would definitely recommend going to eat out a lot. Again, it's also just a social thing too.
Yeah, I cook too. There's a store, Lidl. It's right by where we live. You bring your own bags. It's basically Aldi. You think about it, a lot of the things were much cheaper than I was used to. But some of it's not like name brand stuff, or like I ended up buying the wrong laundry stuff just because I'm not used to it. But they're also good food. You can get like pre-made sandwiches there too.
There is American food too, but again, obviously that's gonna be way expensive.
Yes.
And you're not gonna find everything.
But like the meat and stuff is all good quality, and it says on the package that it's like Irish chicken or Irish meat, Irish beef. So that's always good. And some of it too, like since it is an international type store, they had, I think, like German sausage and different types of international cheeses from like France and stuff. So it's really good. I enjoyed it. The food there.
All the food tastes amazing, so.
Even the fish, like salmon was, I think I bought the pre-skinned salmon. And it was €4 for 2 pieces of salmon. So obviously it might fluctuate based on time of year and exchange rates and types, things like that. Like groceries change here all the time too. But yeah, I would say it wasn't that bad. I liked to cook a lot, fresh vegetables and stuff too, so.
Did you find how it's freshness? Like, did you feel you had to go more often? Because-
Yes.
Oh, definitely keep in mind, if you're going groceries, those groceries are gonna grow moldy within like 2 to 3 days.
Yeah,
So you will have to go grocery shopping a lot.
or freeze a lot, so like I would buy chicken breast and then freeze it if I wasn't gonna use it right away, but you do have a small freezer space. What else? I would, yeah, like bread, they have half loaves, And so if you're, or you could do like half a loaf for the whole apartment, you can decide how you're gonna split it up. Like if you wanna share groceries a little bit, we shared mostly seasonings and like milk and butter. But you can talk about that too, but some things would get that, like bread. So I would get that half loaf that they offer too, if you don't eat a lot of bread.
With the internships, will you be working Saturdays or do you work weekends?
No, you would only work during the week. There was a couple opportunities for my internship to work on a weekend if I wanted, and I could have worked then instead of like during a weekday and taken like exchange the two. But again, you would have most of those weekends free.
Yeah, I interned on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then I had class Wednesdays and Fridays. So then I had Thursdays off, and so that was nice for me. But yeah, I never worked on the weekends, it was just Mondays and Tuesdays. But mine was my internship, since it was an after school program, was a little different than the other people's internship, because I started at 11 and then ended at like 6, and other people started at 8 or 9, 10.
With the internships, are they larger businesses or smaller businesses?
I would say medium to small.
Yeah. Ireland is very relaxed with their work culture in general, so a lot of them will tend to be smaller.
Yeah. My organization probably had 20 full-time employees. I know some people were at a pharmacy that had quite a few locations, maybe like 80 locations across Ireland. And they were at their corporate office. I know someone was at an accounting firm that I think had maybe like 8 people.
Yeah,
So it's, I would say small and then medium, like that. Pharmacy was probably the biggest. McCabe, yeah. How many do you know at yours?
mine was like 10, so.
Yeah. Under 20 employees is usually what they say for most internship.
And they'll usually be slow, like responding to emails, like the whole work culture in class is very much slower. So if you're expecting answers right away, they're probably not gonna come within like a couple of days.
Yeah, would you recommend talking in person then if you're talking to a lecturer? Like the professor?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And again, you can always send up follow-up emails too.
And then I know you mentioned that there's a club for DBS and
Yes.
they're gonna send out another email about that.
Yes,
Could you give like a little more insight, like maybe what some of those clubs are or anything like that?
so there was definitely, so the ones obviously volleyball, there was also photography, there was a couple like language clubs too.
Pre-professional ones, like there was an MBA society that I got emails from, but I could never make their events.
There was like a film and media one, so you just like watch film.
Like some marketing club or something like that. And then a lot of cultural clubs too, since it was an international, I know that they had some, like a Muslim student association or other like, religious or cultural groups too.
And they had other sports as well.
Yeah, like I know there was like a rowing one and there was rugby and things like that.
Yeah, I know there's soccer was hard to get like on the team for tryouts. But yeah, but most of that was like a lot of, yeah.
So I know, like, I've talked to people who went to the, what was it, Montpellier program
Yes,
in the fall, and they said that the weekends were 3 days. What do the weekends in Ireland look like? Or what is the school week look like? How long? Is it the
it's,
same?
yeah, well, it's like 5 days. It's regular, but like. Depending on how your internship and your classes work out, some people would have 3-day weekends. That would just
Like I had Thursdays off, so it wasn't the most beneficial, like I did some day trips and stuff, like we went to Waterford. There and back on a Thursday, but
But if you get like blessed with like the good schedule and you have like a 3-day weekends.
yeah, so yeah, I did, but there were.
Or
I would
there's
say classes on Fridays and maybe had less attendance, but they do track attendance. And so I think it's 85% attendance is what you need. I think it might be because of a student visa. I'm not really sure, or just DBS gave you that number.
some people did end up taking like a full week trip and skip classes, so like you could also do that, like,
It's a choice.
it's a choice. You
I
go
wouldn't
for it.
recommend it educationally, but
But like if you're going there for fun, like, okay.
but they do track attendance, so they have a machine. It's kind of like the card scanners if you're trying to go into your dorm. You hold your student ID to it, and then it beeps twice, and then it logs your attendance. You do that, it could be from 10 minutes before class to 10 minutes after class, you go to the scanner and do it.
And again, they'll tell you all about that at UBS too.
Yeah, so your attendance is tracked in a way, just so you know. So I wouldn't recommend just going
Yes.
on vacation.
What do you recommend bringing for shoes for like everyday use and hiking and all that good stuff?
Your shoes are gonna get worn out, cause you are walking everywhere, so I would bring like solid comfortable shoes, like don't bring, obviously you wouldn't, but like bring heels or like some shit like that.
I wear these all the
Just
time
like-
for like trips. These, I wear these Tims for like hiking when we had trips like that.
There's definitely a lot of options to go hiking, so like bring good hiking boots.
Yes, also like shoes that could get wet.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say gym shoes are probably the best for everyday use. And then unless you're at like an accounting firm, the attire is probably casual at your internship. So I mostly wore gym shoes and like I would wear this probably to my internship.
If you are somewhere a bit more fancy, you will have to pack nicer clothes.
But you'll find out, and when you do have that Zoom with your placement site, you can ask them types of things to wear. And so, yeah, I would say make sure to bring stuff that's wet. And then I didn't realize that there's a difference between water resistant and waterproof.
Waterproof is crucial.
So I had a rain jacket that was water resistant. And so I ended up buying a whole new raincoat there, and it was a little expensive. I ended up getting like waterproof pants because my pants would always get soaked when we went on trips, like when we were at the cliffs of it was bad. The rain was like going sideways in every way, but it was kind of like snow pants, but like for the rain, and I was dry, so everyone else was jealous. So it was a little expensive, but yeah, just like things to think about, like you'll get wet.
Yes.
But a legit raincoat and waterproof that there, yeah, so if you are in the market for that. And then some sort of like even these, I think, or at least like getting where you can spray your shoes.
Yeah, I sprayed my gym shoes.
Yep, and so those they will just get wet.
Go for it.
How does Irish fashion differ from American fashion?
It's definitely, so it's not London, but it's also definitely Europe, so it's a step up. So like you definitely, they will know if you're American a lot of the time anyway, but like fashion is one way that you can blend in. So again, it's a higher class, it's a higher standard. So again, jeans are kind of a telltale that you're American. If you're wearing like a sweatshirt, you got like the backpack on. So like, yeah, so again, just packing. I guess if you want to blend in more, pack like more nicer clothes. You could also buy clothes there too, which help a lot.
You said a backpack makes you more American?
Absolutely.
But what do Irish people use?
A lot of Europeans use like tote bags and stuff like that.
Ideas. Great.
But then like, you wanna make sure, you have to be careful because you don't want it to be like an open tote bag
Yeah.
for things to fall out, things to get wet, or like, things
Right.
get taken.
But also just like think of neutral, like they, and
Not a lot of bright colors.
not a lot of like
Matching that like athleisure was a big thing, like.
I mean, but be prepared to wear because of like laundry and things like that, be prepared to like figure out layers because the weather also will not be too hot, like your max will be like low 70s on like magical one day in September, but then it will go down to like 40s in December,
Yeah.
but like.
Layers
not-
are
no,
Shorts.
but the screams American, so, but go for it. So,
I packed a lot of like black, navy, gray that I could wear with each other, kind of like, I think they call it a capsule wardrobe where everything matches with each other. So I didn't have to really like figure things out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
How much does it rain?
sometimes it's just like 10 minutes. It just starts and then stops.
Per week, it's probably like only a couple days. I know it's like stereotypical for like raining, but like it wasn't that
Yeah.
much. So
Is it like heavy enough rain that you wanna have an umbrella on hand, like when you're walking anywhere?
I would say raincoat.
I feel like you can get away with the raincoat.
Yeah, just a hooded raincoat, cause also the thing about an umbrella, especially in Dublin, like. You're
There's a lot of
managing
wind.
people and wind, and so you'll see a lot of broken umbrellas. But I would, yeah.
And it also rained when we were on our trip to the west. And so I would say like the coasts maybe rain more too.
Mhm.
So
Dublin won't be too bad.
what?
It will still rain a lot.
How I reference like the weather report in Ireland is always like, if it says it's gonna rain like 20%. Here, I'm like, oh, it's probably not gonna rain, just a 20% chance, like, there's a good chance I'm not even gonna like bring my jacket. A 20% in Ireland is like 20% of the day it's gonna rain, like, that's the rain. Like, it will rain, but just 20% of the day. Like, but it's rarely a washout day, like here when it rains, there's many, like, it'll rain feels like all day. That's more rare, you still will get those days, but that's, I feel like it's gonna maybe either trickle like for just an hour or two. Or a downpour for 10 minutes and then the sun will come back out. So it is a different kind of weather
Like
system.
Florida rain.
Like Florida, yeah.
It gets,
Without the humidity, without humidity.
it's worse, I would say, in
It's
like
definitely
December.
cloudy a lot.
Yeah.
It's not really sunny a bunch, but.
And the other thing is it's like a wet cold, so it's a different kind of chill. And so, did you guys wear like hats towards the end at all?
I just put up my hood.
Yeah, I mean, I would wear like a hoodie hood or like the coat hood, but it did kind of get cold, but
Like, you don't need a winter.
it was
jacket,
also
but, like,
rare.
layers, a fall jacket type. But definitely you don't need a winter jacket by any means.
Yeah, it was rare. It's like had the coldest week in Ireland for like 10 years. So I think it was 30 to 33. And so the rain kind of froze a little bit and then they had no salt prepared and stuff, but it was like record breaking.
They did have snow one day, which was huge. Yeah,
So you said people don't really wear like hoodies, and
Yes.
like, what kind of like, what would you wear instead of that? That would be.
a lot of them go with like tracksuits, like think like typical European.
Or like
Oh.
sweaters.
A lot of sweaters.
Cardigans.
It's a lot of layers, so like.
But there can be like, depending on places you wanted to go in, is there in the dress code? You had anything to year too?
I think maybe at clubs, but we didn't go to clubs. We went to just like normal pubs. That did you just like.
Suppose that you could go to in Dublin, but like. Compared to like other European countries, like Ireland clubs are like. You know, they're okay.
Pub, you just wear whatever. A lot of people might have like crew neck sweatshirts that say like American cities on them.
Yeah, there will be a lot of like Europeans wearing like American stuff, which
Like,
is kind of strange, but.
One, like, there was one, I think, that said like LA on it, and I asked one of my coworkers, oh, have you been to LA? She's like, no, I just bought this at Penny's, which is in the UK, it's called Primark. It's the same thing, and you can get cheap clothes there, so.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Can you explain your experience to me about drinking water?
You want to take them? Alright, figured.
Yeah, you could take it.
So like. I would say like most of the time, it's pretty safe and like you could take water from the tap. But a lot of times they don't have drinking fountains everywhere. They're really big on like plastic water bottles and bringing them everywhere. So at the colleges, you'll be able to refill like reusable water bottles and stuff like that, and obviously at your apartment. But if you go anywhere else, it's kind of like.
I didn't drink the water at my internship because I was told it tastes like chlorine. So I didn't even try, so I brought my own water, and then just had like tea or coffee. But
Yeah.
you wouldn't get sick from it.
Throughout the day, there are a lot of European students who have like water bottles probably like this big that they just carry around all day, and that's what they drink. Versus like.
Everyone lives.
Any other last questions?
Oh, so I've been, for the electronic stuff, I think it might be the next one. Like. Oh. Just like hair dryers, straighteners, or like. If, for like guys, electric razors, that stuff won't work.
It has to be dual voltage and then you can use an adapter. That otherwise, you will fry your hair dryer or straighteners or things like that, or if you have like
I definitely fried some stuff, so.
yeah, but your like computers, your phones, they have built-in adapters, because the current's different, the electric current is different, so that's why. There is such thing as a converter, but they don't work well, so I wouldn't recommend buying a converter adapter, just buy adapters. Like we're shown on the last screen, yeah.
You can't bring pepper spray or mace. Did you guys, purchase them while you were there or anything?
No.
So they're illegal.
Dublin's really safe too, as well as being illegal.
Yeah, so they're considered weapons, so you'll just find in Europe, you won't find even, you won't find guns or things like that, but also, pocket knives, pepper spray, mace is all considered, weapons on their piece, and so, it is fairly safe. The other thing to think about is, you could think there are, not that you're thinking you're gonna bring in keys, but there's things that emulate like a key. You could walk with that, if that makes you feel better. But being in groups, trusting your gut, going in well-lit areas at night is always key. But we haven't had an issue, but we just wanted to be mindful of, here are the different local laws, even possessing marijuana. Haven't had an issue with this, but I would just, these are things we want you to consider. Because if you're in jail, we cannot help you in those pieces. So those are the pieces we wanted you to be mindful of, but also just checking out the state.gov. We'll enroll you in the STEP program, but there's also other good information, like on this website, there is about like being a woman and traveling solo, maybe a different religion affiliation, or, gender, what that may mean when you're studying abroad or going to this location. So so there's 4 levels of safety, 1 being like the lowest for the State Department, 4 being the most. I mean, Ireland is a 1, so is the lowest. They very much consider it safe, but Dublin is a larger city. Like any larger city, you just have to bring some of that street smarts, and things to think about is like, it's that crimes of opportunity is what we really see most. So pickpockets in more busy areas. The other thing is when you're sitting at maybe like a restaurant or a pub, a lot of times, like here in the US, you might have your phone just out in front of you and then just like are talking over here, and then you look over here again and your phone's gone. So those types of things is where we have seen like crimes of opportunity. Not again that often, but it really is around, like we've seen a few phones lost or pickpocketed, or just like wallets, like you have the big token. Ooh, it's easy to grab, right? If you're walking across people. So
There were some people who went to Spain who left their phones on the beaches, so like,
yeah.
don't recommend do that.
Yeah, like Barcelona is the pickpocket capital of the world, and so, but also, yeah, do not, we've had students who like put their bag down and then go in line for McDonald's, and then surprise, their bag's not there when they return to their tables. So things, so some of the things that you may do in the library here, like leaving your laptop all day and then just coming back to it, like just think a little bit before you do some of those things when you're studying it. Would be my,
I also wouldn't leave any like beverages unattended.
yeah.
Did you guys do anything like money belts or like fanny packs to help avoid pickpocketing stuff too, or not really?
My friend Olivia did when we were in Rome, because Rome is also huge for pickpocketing. And again, we did see people like actively get scammed in Rome. So like, it's a good idea if you're going somewhere else. Dublin, I would say you wouldn't have to worry as much. But again, just keep it on you. Obviously, again, not on the table,
I
stuff
think
like that.
But also for guys, yeah, wallets in the front versus the back.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of just like that, excuse me, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, where's my stuff, kind of thing.
Yeah, we were asked to bring our passports when we went to Northern Ireland. So when we first got there, I did have a money belt with my passport, but I ended up leaving it like locked. I had a suitcase that like locked, so I left it just like at the accommodation. So, yeah.
You probably already said it, but you said no electric razors?
Yeah, so that's kind of in the same vein as like hair dryers or straighteners.
Okay.
Just because of how the voltage work, you'll probably fry an electric shaver.
Like,
Buy
buy
one. You could buy
one.
one and those are especially electric shavers are relatively inexpensive, so, yeah. And same with like honestly, like TJ Maxx I've seen had some like dual voltage. So again, if you look at your electric shaver, I'm not in the market to look at that to know if they'll have a lot of dual voltage here in the States, but I do know like hair dryers or straighteners do. And as long as they say dual voltage that you can like flip a switch from 120 to 240, then they'll work better with an adapter. Sometimes, like honestly, the best thing is to get one there, then you know it works. But either way works on that side. So the other thing just to remember as well is now is the time to start planning for any kind of medication that you may use and reminding yourself to get the full supply for the full semester. Depending on medications, a lot of times they only want you to get like 30, 60, or 90 days. So it would be working with insurance companies to get exceptions for that. Because, you know, just making sure that you don't have to worry about that for the time you're abroad. Probably not something you're gonna necessarily need or any things like that, but every country is still a little bit different of where they're at with COVID. So you won't need anything when you're in Ireland, but not bad, like with your passport, also just bring your CDC card. And you know, it is the time like when you feel like you want a mask, because maybe you're feeling ill or you want to take a COVID test just in case, just bringing a couple of masks and a couple of tests in your carry-on or in your luggage, so that way you're prepared for those just in case, because then that way you don't have to like run. And we do know like last fall there was a run of like colds that end up being colds, not COVID. But students then was, you know, like when you want to try to find a mask, you can't, or you want to try to find like a quick test, you can't. So just grabbing a couple of those so you can keep the community safe is a great idea as well. Any last questions before we let these ladies go?